Okay. Um, there are a couple people still submitting their stuff. Most people have, which is good. Couple things I want to do today and just kind of set the context for the next couple weeks, at least in terms of this setting. Um, I want to go over these rules and expectations, just as kind of like a brief overview. I'm guessing they're about the same for every class. Okay. After that, I want to review just a little bit, and then I'm going to give you some homework. Uh, it's not a lot, um, and I'll kind of explain that when we get there. Okay. First, I want to explain these guidelines. All right. So this is in your email. You need to read it. If you haven't, it's not just for like just to look good. Um, it's for you to make this a little bit more structured, which I think in this case is a good thing. Couple things. This is going to be expected every day. All right. So they're kind of like three parts that are going to be daily. Okay. You always log into on campus. You always reply to the attendance question. That attendance question is going to be worth some amount of points in a worthwhile area. Okay. So if you do not do that, you will not get points. You will be marked absent. And then other things happen besides that. But if you just want really easy free points, you have to do that first. After you do that, you come here to YouTube on the channel. I'll either be streaming or I will have a video ready for you. Very rarely, in fact, I don't think I'll even do this where I just give you work and then have you do that. I will always in some way give you a lesson or concept or examples or something like that. Okay, so you always go to on campus, then you come here. After that, you will I will go over to Teams, which I'll explain here in a minute again, and I will set up a meeting. And that meeting is for really for people who just have questions or want a little bit further help with anything that we've gone over. Okay, so on campus, YouTube, Teams. All right, that Teams thing is kind of new to you. My guess is that you might have used it today already. We will be using it a lot. That's the place where I can actually sit down and help people individually on different problems where several might have questions on. Okay, so if one person has a question, or if like 4 or 5 people have a question on the same type of problem, I can sit down and actually help those people through that problem. Okay, it's a little bit more one-on-one than this stream. All right. So that's like the first 2 or 3 things. In terms of this stream and or videos, these comments need to be only for questions. All right. So right now, like people are posting on it. That can't happen because it's like I'm trying to filter through that as well. So if there are actually any important questions, I can pick them out and use them. All right. So if you're gonna be using it for stupid stuff or saying this sucks, or saying I don't know what's happening, like that's great. Don't. Okay. Questions need to be specific and they need to be concise so I know exactly what you're talking about. And it should only be questions on what's happening right now. All right. Yes, Teams is the group FaceTime kind of a thing. Okay. We probably won't be using it directly like that, but it gives us a good platform to work together. All right. Things I don't want to see in chat. I don't get this, or literally anything else, unless it's a question and then it's concise. Okay, because it's not helpful and it doesn't do anything. Okay. I will try to make these last under 45 minutes. Today we might go a little bit over, but that's really because I want to get these expectations out of the way so people know what's happening. Again, the Teams thing is more, it's almost like office hours. I think you should be there. You don't have to be, but especially in this setting, it's probably good to be there for the first couple of times so you know what's happening. All right, and I will require that you actually get on today and get in a meeting. All right. Other than that, there will be homework every day. You will be getting points every day. All right. This is important. Your parents are paying for it. You need to be here. Okay. Um, yes, you're required to be present. I know this is kind of a weird thing to make a requirement, um, but this is class. Like from here on out, for the next couple weeks, this is class. Um, During class, just be in a space that is um, that will help you actually learn. So if you're like laying in bed or something, that's probably not the best. If you just open up your laptop, submit the question, and then walk away, that's probably not the best either. Um, be in class, be present, take notes, just like you normally would. Uh, you're in a different setting. I understand that, but you're going to be doing this probably a lot more in college than you might think. Okay. Um, I'm okay with you guys listening to music so long as you're not like blasting it and you're just watching me do the lesson. You need to be actively listening. You need to be actually doing it in your notebook. Um, it shouldn't be just you watching what I write down on the screen. That's not okay. That's not good enough. All right. Besides that, tests will be different and retakes will be different. So I know a couple people in here probably want to retake the test. Um, in terms of actual tests, I'm thinking more along the lines of you videoing yourself explaining a couple of questions and actually working through the question. That way, it's you're actually telling me that you have understood the content in some way, shape, or form. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. Um, Besides all this, uh, individual questions. So if you have an individual question, don't ask it here. Ask it in Teams because then I can actually sit down and actually understand where you're coming from. Okay. Um, if you do ask me a question in Teams and it's just us two, I would rather you be in an open area. Really, I'd rather you have like one or two students in there with me. Um, and if you don't, you need to be in an open area where anyone could walk in and kind of see what's happening. All right. That's for both of us. All right. Um, Other than that, this is not an extended spring break. All right. This is still school. This is part of your education. Um, it is mandatory. You need to be on top of this stuff. Okay. Obviously, we're going to take it a little bit slower this first week or so we get our bearings. Um, but this is all stuff I expect of you. I expect effort. I expect you to actually try. All right. Communication is like the key throughout all of this. So if you don't understand something here, it is very, very, very important that you let me know up front and we can work through it together quickly so we can get it. Um, it's a lot easier to get left behind in this format than it might be at school. I can usually see where people struggle at school. In this case, I'm not physically seeing you do any problems. All right. Obviously, there's homework, but that's a little bit different. All right. Different classes look a little bit differently. For the most part, this will be our format, but I might change it up a little bit here or there depending on what works. Okay. This isn't probably complete. There are things I'll add, there's things I'll modify, but for right now, this is what we're working with. Okay. Um, are there any questions over anything that I just said? Yeah, so homework, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail a little bit later. Um, but if it's an IXL, you're just going to do it as normal, which I'm hoping not to do as much. Like that's like the easiest option to go to. What I would like is I'll probably give you some kind of worksheet. I'll have it in on campus and I'll just assign questions from it. You will take a picture of your work and then you will submit it to on campus. And then I'll check it that way. That way it's all in one place and I'm not trying to track down emails. I'm not, it's all there and it's all in one spot. Okay. Um, so that's kind of how I'm planning on doing it. And I'll explain that here in a little bit too. The classwork in on campus is due next class. I might have made it due today. If I did, I'll go in and change that. I'm pretty sure I made it due next class. And again, I'll explain that here in a minute because I'm going to give some different directions on it that you need to hear. Okay. Also, going along with this homework, yes, you get points for checking in on campus, but I'm also going to be explaining the homework during this, which is also going to be worth points. So if you just check in and on campus and then leave, like you're not going to get credit for the homework either. So that's just another reason to be here and attentive. All right. I can also see how many people are here. It says 17 people are here right now, and that's not enough. At least I don't think it is. But yeah, any other questions? So Dom says it is. Is it due next class, or do I have it due this class? Okay, good. All right. The attendance is due this class. The classwork is due next class. All right, just so we're clear. The attendance is due, like, you should do that first thing. Now, one other thing that you need to keep in mind, it's probably going to seem like I go through this a little bit slower. That's because there's like a 10-second gap between what I'm actually saying and when you actually hear it. So I'm trying to slow down so you actually have a chance to digest it and then ask questions. All right. So if there are no other questions on this, we're going to go into a little bit of review, and then I'll explain the homework. All right. So the last couple weeks, we went over a couple of things. We went over 2x2 systems, which we need to be able to solve in some way. The three ways that I'm expecting you to know at least one of are substitution, elimination, and graphing. All right. So we need to be able to do at least one of these. I don't really care which one you know how to do best. You just have to be able to do one of them for a 2x2 system. We also added using matrices to this. That's great if you're able to do it using matrices, but I'm also expecting you to be doing at least one of these. All right. We also know how to solve 3x3 systems using elimination and also matrices. Okay. For 3x3 systems, I'm expecting you to be able to do both. So you need to be able to use elimination, and you need to be able to use matrices. And yes, the streams they're available right after I end it. Okay. And you also have period 6. So if I, for whatever reason, explain something differently here, you can go back to period 6 and watch that too. All right. So both of these things we should be pretty comfortable with. 2x2 systems and 3x3 systems. Besides this, we also went over what an actual matrix is. We need to be able to get dimensions, which are just the number of rows by the number of columns. We need to be able to do operations, such as adding, scalar multiplication, and matrix multiplication. I will explain the homework here in a minute. All right. So 2x2 systems, 3x3 systems, matrices. So we need to be able to find dimensions, and we need to be able to do these three operations. All right. Besides that, we also went over determinants. So we need to be able to find determinants of 2x2 systems. All right, so to define the determinant of a 2x2 system, you multiply diagonally. And then subtract those two things together. All right, so that should be very, very simple. Where it gets trickier is 3x3 systems. To find the determinant of a 3x3 system, you repeat the first two rows, or the first two columns. And again, you multiply diagonally. And you subtract those two things. So you subtract green and white. Okay. I'll try and go over an example of that. But for now, this is what we've covered so far. And we need to be able to do all of this. So what I'd like to do is really quickly go over matrix multiplication. And determinants, because those are like the two hardest things on this list. All right, so say we have these two matrices. The first thing, in order to multiply them together, we have to get their dimensions. So this first matrix has 2 rows and 3 columns, so it's a 2x3 matrix. And then the second matrix has 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so in order for us to multiply these two matrices together, these middle numbers have to be the same. If they are the same, then our new dimensions are the two things left over. So this is going to be a 2x2 matrix. No, you do not need to send me your notes. Again, I will explain the homework here in a second. All right. Then this matrix has 4 different elements. It has the first row, first column, the first row, second column, second row, first column, and second row, second column. These coordinates tell you kind of what to do. All right. So this first one, that's the first row, first column. So we need to multiply the first row by the first column. So we do 3 times -1 plus 1 times 4 plus 2 times 0. Then this is the first row, second column. So we do the first row times the second column. So we do 3 times 1 plus 1 times 3 plus 0 times 0. Then the second row, first column. And the second row, second column. Okay, and this entire matrix, once you simplify it, that would be your new matrix. That would be your product. Okay. Questions about matrix multiplication? Okay. Now I want to do a determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. So if we take the determinant of this, the first thing we have to do is to repeat the first 2 rows. Then we take the products of the diagonals. So 5 times -1 times -3 plus 1 times 2 times 4 plus 3 times 0 times -2. And then go in the opposite direction. And then subtract those 2 things together. So our answer is -55. Okay. Questions about finding a 3 by 3 determinant? It is not 78, but that should also be positive 55, not negative. 23 minus a -32 is 55. Okay. The other thing we need to know how to do that I do want to spend just a second on are solving systems of three equations using elimination. All right, so this is number 19 in the worksheet that you're going to actually have to go to. So if you go to topics, systems of equations and matrices, and then 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. That'll lead you to the worksheet that your homework is on. Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do though is to be able to do one of these using elimination. All right. So in order to eliminate something in a system of three equations, we pick two equations and eliminate one variable. So I'm going to eliminate z here. So when we do that, we add down, so these z's cancel. And now we have one equation with two variables. Then we pick two other variables, or two other equations. Let's say the first one and the last one. And we need to eliminate z again. So because we chose z in this equation, we have to choose z in the next equation. So in order to eliminate z, we have to multiply the bottom one by 3. And then add down. And now we've simplified this system of three equations into a system of two equations. So we have 6x minus 7y is equal to negative 26. And 2x minus 10y is equal to negative 41. And then we solve this using substitution, elimination, or graphing. Or you could do it using matrices. Yes, it would be 42. Okay, so in order to solve, I would solve for x probably because it's easier. We need to multiply the bottom one by negative 3. So we get negative 6x plus 30y is equal to 126. When we add down, we get except that's not right. Okay, instead of kind of laboring over this, I know that y has to equal 4. So we should get 25y is equal to 100. We did something wrong up here, but in order to save time, I'm just going to tell you that y is equal to 4. All right. After you get y is equal to 4, you plug it into one of these two equations. And then solve for x. And then once you solve for x, you have x and y. So you'd plug x and y into one of these three equations and then solve for z. Okay, so that's elimination. You eliminate you reduce a system of 3 equations into a system of 2. Then you solve the system of 2, plug in the 2 variables into our original, and then solve for the third. Okay. I realize I kind of screwed up on that. Are there any questions, though? We've done a bunch of examples like this in class. Yes, everything we've done today is just review. Yeah, so our homework is number 23, 24, and 25. And I want you to do 2 things. I want you to solve using elimination. So that's step 1, just solve using elimination just like we did above. And then I want you to find the determinant of the coefficient matrix. Okay, so if you don't know what a coefficient matrix is, it's very simple. Right, so if we have this system, our coefficient matrix is just a matrix of the coefficients. Okay, so you solve using elimination. That's step 1. Then you find the coefficient matrix and then find the determinant of that. And I want you to do that for number 23, 24, and 25. The answers to all those are in the handout. And that handout, again, if you go to topics, go to systems of equations and matrices, and then it's the top download. It's 2x2 systems and 3x3 systems. Okay. Are there any questions over any of that? Now, in order to submit this, you can either do it on OneNote, you can download it as a PDF, you can put notes on it there and then submit it. Or you can write it in your notebook, take a picture of it, and then submit that picture to on campus. All right. Can we use our calculator for the determinant on the homework? No, I want you to do this by hand. You can check it with a calculator, but I would like you to do it by hand. Okay, now I'm going to leave this open for questions for like a minute. And if you have any questions, start thinking about them now. After this, I'm going to be on Teams. I'm going to start a meeting. I would like people to actually get in and just see what it is so they know where it is and how to use it. All right. But that's the place where you would go if you need a little bit extra help after this. So if you're not able to figure something out, or you just want to hear people do a couple problems, or you want to hear other people's questions, you go to Teams and then you just enter the meeting. Okay, Teams, if you're not aware, if you go to Outlook, and then on the top left, there are the 9 dots. Hit that. And then you go to the Teams option. Click it. And then you would go to our class. So this is period 8. And then I can start a meeting here. So you would start a meeting by clicking down here, and then it's basically like a video chat or voice chat, right? But you'll see here in a second. But it allows me to actually write stuff and do stuff with you. Okay. Before I close this, though, are there any kind of broader questions that I can answer right now? So you are already in a team for this class. You're in period 8 pre-calculus. Just be in there and I'll start a meeting and then you can join in there. Literally just go to that team and then you'll see it. Okay, I don't have it up yet. I will here in the next couple minutes though. Yes, the homework is just those 3 problems. You have to solve each one using elimination, and then you have to find the coefficient of each of the, you have to find the determinant of each of the coefficient matrices. I don't think you're going to have more work. In fact, I think it's going to be less. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to log on to Teams and I'm going to start a meeting. Again, please join. Just see what it's about, and then you can go do whatever you need to do. All right. So I will be there in like 2 minutes.